Hey everybody, welcome back to the Midnight Paint and Body channel. Hey, this video might hurt a little bit because we're going to be cutting into this beautiful 71 C10. So yeah, you heard me right. So as you can see, got a really nice 71 C10 pickup. So this is a beautiful truck. You can see it's got lots of little custom touches. You can see his cool side exit exhaust, relocated tailgate handle. You can see how nice and smooth that tailgate is. And some custom door handles. It has a super nice, I believe it's a 6-liter LS setup in it. Beautiful under the hood. Beautiful interior. Everything about this truck is nice. But I'll show you the one custom touch that the customer did and wants to undo. So when he built this truck, he moved the fuel tank to the back of the frame like most people do, get them out of the cab. So if you're familiar with these, most people are, they came from the factory, fuel tank behind the seat, and they had a fuel filler right around here. So he's moved the fuel tank to the back and gone with the fuel filler here. So super cool setup, super clean. You can see there's our cap there. But I guess the problem with it is that, customer said it takes like 20 minutes to fill up the fuel tank. He said he doesn't even drive the truck because it's such a giant pain in the ass to fuel it up. So I'll grab my light and I'll kind of show you guys what's going on there. So as you can see, fuel tank moved to the back. But now here's the filler setup. So you can see you're going down, and then the fuel's got to do this loop back up and around to the tank. So, and it's going through this tiny diameter pipe. So it's just, yeah, I can see why it doesn't work well. So what we are going to be doing, or what I am going to be doing, I'm going to bring you guys along. We're putting a fuel door in the bedside. So what we're using is this just a late model GM fuel cap, fuel door. So it's going to end up being right around there. So I've cut a scrap out of an old GM bedside I had out back for the pocket. And then this will be, I think he said this was off of like a 97, 98 Yukon. And I'll kind of show you what we're up against in here. So, fairly straightforward because we're just going to be joining our pipe to the existing hose. But, as you can see, there is no room for it in here. So we're actually going to be cutting out all this inner structure just wide enough for that pipe and for that piece there to fit up inside, and then we'll be making some kind of a shroud for the inside of the box. So our pipe is going to be kind of going here, so I'm going to be building a piece that's going to kind of hide that. We'll figure that out when we get to it. So, it's a lot of cutting and hacking into an absolutely beautiful truck. But that's okay. That's what I do here. I cut things up. So anyway, I'm going to formulate a bit of a plan here, and we'll figure out where we're going to start. Ugh. Yuck. Well, that was kind of nasty. So yeah, that shows you there when he was trying to feed fuel through that tiny little pipe. So of course we're going to be doing a bunch of cutting and welding under here after, so having this exposed fuel, not the best idea. I'm going to have to find a way to plug this up really well and cover it all up really well with cardboard and blankets before we cut anything. Well, this brings us to the point of no return. So our filler is going to sit right around there. So we want it as close to this brace as we can get it. So I'm just going to start by putting a couple of cuts here with the Sawzall, just kind of roughly, and then I'll be able to see on the inside of the bed exactly where I want to cut. And this is going to be just kind of a matter of cut a little bit and fit, and cut a little more and fit until we get it right where we want it. So I'd like to get that filler neck in place before cutting into the box, obviously, because we're not going to know exactly where the filler is going to land in the bedside. So I'm going to fire up the Sawzall and just put a couple of small slices there and see where that takes us. So there we go. That tells us where we need to cut. So we're going to be kind of cutting out a chunk there and a chunk there, because that pipe is going to kind of come through the bed, and then we're going to be making a cover for it. So I'll have another looky and we'll do a little more cutting. So here's where we're at. Cut a big hole on the inside of the box. Just do a little bit of a test fit here. Camera with the other hand. Put it upside down. So our filler is going to sit right around there. So we've got almost enough clearance. I need to trim a little more. But the problem not a problem, the next thing I need to figure out is this piece. I would like to be able to use this factory piece to bolt to the inside of the bedside when I put that new panel in, but this is going to require cutting quite a big chunk out of that inner. So it's either that, or I can maybe mount this to the bed floor and just have it nice and solid, but then you're just going to open the fuel door and have this pipe rather than seeing that. I think it would be a lot better if we can actually utilize all of this. So I'm going to measure and trim a little more and see what I come up with. So a bunch more cutting and trimming, and here's what we've come up with for our filler. So it is going to sit right there. So that's going to work out really well. So I'll need to make, obviously, like I said before, I'll need to make a cover of some sort for this, but that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But now I think we're ready for the scary part. Gonna cut a big hole in the box side, start figuring out the fuel door. So no, that hole isn't big enough for the fuel. It's about the size of what he was trying to put fuel through before. That's just going to give me kind of a starting point where I'm going to start trimming. I'm going to be doing the same thing as on the inside, just going to cut it out small and then kind of move up and up until we get that kind of big enough hole for the fuel door and for putting in this chunk of bedside that I cut this out of a rusted out bedside I had in the scrap pile out back. So we'll see. I'll cut this back as small as I can. But yeah, let's start cutting into this thing. That's pretty good. So that was just, take my earmuffs off. Just a rough cut to make sure we're in the right place. But I mean, we're gonna need to be cutting this quite a bit bigger. But I'm happy with the placement so far. All right, now we have a big hole cut in the box side. So if you're not familiar with that tool I was using, that's an air nibbler. Now, the nibbler is great. It doesn't make sparks. It's, yeah, it's a nice clean, well, clean-ish way to cut. But it does create all of these little death shards, which are super sharp, and they're super hot when they fly out of the end of the nibbler. And they, as it cuts, they shoot out of that little hole there like a machine gun. So these things get all in your clothes and stuck in your boots and everything else, so that's the bad thing. But anyway, let's move on to fitting this up. So I've got everything sort of loosely mocked up, so I'll kind of show you guys where we're at. So we've got that kind of, yeah, it's not perfectly square, but it's going to need more tape than that to hold it permanently. Maybe some better tape. So that's where the filler is going to be. Here's a look at the inside. I'm going to trim that back just a hair more, just because that plastic piece is a little tight in there, but that's okay. So that is where that filler is going to live. And I'll show you guys underneath here. So you can see where a filler is going to come out. And then this hose I should be able to use no problem. I'll trim that off around about there, and that'll be fine. It's got a little bit of a slight down, but I don't think that's going to be a problem because our filler is still a lot higher than the tank, so that's fine. And then this is the vent hose. I've just got it routed up out of the way for now, so I'll need to find a new way to route this vent hose, and it's going to go to this factory vent location. So, oh yeah, you can see how I plugged off the fuel hose. It's a little spray can fit perfectly. So that's where I'm at for now. So I'm going to do just a little more trimming and fitting, And then yeah, this fuel door panel, once I've got it exactly where I want it, I will just trim it back as small as I can get it, and yeah, we'll be darn near ready to weld that in. We should be welding this panel in today. So a whole bunch of trimming later. Bring you guys in for another look. So we have our fuel door mocked up. I've got the popper cut in there. Now this panel I had didn't have the square hole for this push popper. Customer didn't want the type with the finger hole, wanted the more flush one, which I agree is definitely a better option. So that's gonna work good. So we'll kind of bring you inside the truck, or inside the bed, I guess. So definitely had to cut out more than I expected. I had to clearance just a little bit for the backside of that popper. And then the hinge for the fuel door comes in quite a bit, as you can see there. So, and then of course our pipe is going to come up there. So I'm going to mock all that up one more time, and then I'm going to figure out exactly how I'm going to weld this sucker in there. So here is our fuel filler hole fitted up. Now I chose to do a little bit of an overlap and put it on the inside. And it's gonna make it a little easier to get this all nice and flat and perfectly straight like it was, because this truck is super nice. So then by the time I weld around there, I mean, this should just be just a tiny little bit of body filler to finish it off. I think this is gonna work out really well. So I'm just gonna put a couple of tacks around this piece, and then I'm gonna put everything together one more time, because I need to make sure this is all bang on. It's been a whole lot of putting together and taking apart many times, but yeah, a couple of tack welds, we'll kind of piece it back together and see where we stand there. So one more look, got it all kind of mocked up again. So you can see we've got our cap in place. Everything is where it should be, so that's going to work well. The popper works well. It is just in there with a couple of tack welds. I definitely had to cut away a lot more of the inner than I was expecting to, but that's okay. I'm either going to make something nice for in there just out of sheet metal. I'm kind of thinking about maybe a steel toolbox that could fit in there and be cut to fit and still open, and it would still have a little bit of storage area in the back just for a few things, or I don't know, just a thought. It's definitely something I'd have to run by the customer, but maybe I'll look into that tonight and see if there's anything available as for a toolbox that looks like it might work. If it looks like it would be an option, might be something to do. I was going to ask you guys to tell me in the comments what you think, but by the time this video is over, I will have decided on something in there. So anyway, I think it's a pretty good day's work. I think I'm going to call it there for today, because I don't want to get into a bunch of welding right at the end of the day anyway. So yeah, I think we're good there. So I'll be back in the morning. So there's our first bit of welding done and ground down. So I'm just going to go around it one more time and just touch up any little spots with the welder that look like they could be porous. We'll grind it down one more time. I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to do a little bit of body work. So as you kind of saw me doing there, lots of spot welds, lots of cooling. So our panel is still nice and straight, no warpage. So that's what we're always shooting for. So Pretty happy with that. So I'll bring you guys back shortly when we're ready to start doing a little bit of body filler on there. So I've got everything kind of cleaned up here, so I'm just going to give it a light coat of this Everglass filler over top of the welds. Just kind of seals everything up. You see, by taking a lot of time doing the welding and doing a lot of cooling, we don't have any warpage, so now all we need is this really light coat of body filler. So this fiberglass filler goes on first. I'll knock that off, or knock it down, and then we'll finish it off with a little bit of regular filler. All right, well, I don't know at what point my camera died there. I was kind of filming the bodywork process, but yeah, I guess I'll know when I edit it how much of it is on there. But as you can see, very little bodywork to get this nice and straight and to where it needs to be. I've refitted the gas store just to see how everything looks. We're nice and flush. So it works perfectly. So I am super happy with that. Yeah, I might just need just a little more blocking before primer, but that's no big deal. So there we go. So I do have an idea for in here. So that's going to involve taking a quick drive into the old Canadian Tire store. So we'll do that in a few minutes. And then I'm going to have to get this old girl down off the stands. All right, well, let's take a run to the store. Lock her up. Are you coming? Got your plastic bottle? Perfect. Oh, Louie, you want to come? Yeah, no, you can't come for truck drive. There's your bottle. knows as soon as this truck has insurance on it that he gets to go cruising. Well, I mean that truck too, but this is kind of his truck. Hey, Dawson. Okay, off to the store. Check in with you guys when we get back. All right, so we made it back. I'll show you guys my plan. So, I knew that wasn't going to be big enough, or quite wide enough, but I have a vision of kind of putting this on a bit of a stand. I'll make something out of some sheet metal. We'll cut the back side out of it, so that will clear everything there, and then we'll put a little divider inside there around about here. You'll still have a usable little area, like I was thinking maybe just for some, car cleaning stuff when you go to the car show or whatever. You could have some rags and some cleaners and stuff in there. So, I'm gonna have to cut her up, but I think it's gonna work. So here's a little check-in on the toolbox mount. So I've made this pedestal, I guess you'd call it, out of some sheet metal. It isn't trimmed to completely fit yet, but so it's going to work out a little differently than I'd initially planned. So my intention is I'll be able to fasten this to the floor, and then from the inside of the box I'll be able to fasten the toolbox to this. My initial thought was I'd be cutting the back out of the toolbox to clear all of the stuff that's back here, but it turns out that the way I've set it back, I am not even going to have to cut into the toolbox. So this is going to be kind of neat, I think. So rather than, I could have just made like a sheet metal box and covered this up, which would have been fine, but I think this gives it a little bit of a useful, practical aspect. So I still need to make a filler for the back. I'm going to come up, kind of like I've done here, up to there and fill it in at the top. And then the toolbox opens up perfectly under the lip of the box. So I think it's going to be kind of cool. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is, so he's got the bed liner on the floor of the box. I was thinking maybe what I will do is do this base in the texture black with just some bed liner or some rock guard, and I'm going to paint the toolbox to match the truck. And then it serves two purposes. It covers in, of course, all our exposed fuel stuff, and it's going to give them a cool little spot just to put whatever. Like I said, I think it'd be perfect for, if you go to a car show, you can just have all your cleaning supplies in there, or just even a few tools. So yeah, this will be good. I will keep you guys posted. So here's what I've come up with. A little bit of bending and welding and messing around. One-handed in there. Alright, so you can see how my support fits in there. fits down into the floor. I just kind of cut it around the ribs in the bed. So I'll be able to just put some nice stainless fasteners in there. Just get this in place a little better. So that's going to live right there. So I think, like I said, I'm going to do this in the black texture, this piece. And then this toolbox, I will paint body color to the truck. So, like I said, not really like I planned it. I kind of pictured putting a toolbox there, cutting the back out of the toolbox. But I think this is even better. So this is going to look nice when it's all finished up. And then he's going to have the fully usable toolbox. So be able to pack whatever in there. So a nice little bit of space. So I think that's going to be cool. So I'm going to, I think I'm at the point now where I can take this truck down off the blocks and get it around for some primer and get some primer on these pieces and quite possibly be painting tomorrow. So just a quick check-in for you guys. It's the next day once again. So I've got the bedside and all the pieces in primer. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this prepped up for paint, and I will periodically bring you back in for check-ins. Not going to record all the prepping and all of that stuff, but maybe once I get it in the booth, we'll turn the camera back on for a bit, and we'll have another look. Well, she's finally in the booth, all ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing painted. I'll bring you guys back for a look when it's all shiny. So it's the end of the day again. Thought I'd give you guys a little sneak peek. So she's all sprayed up. Not gonna lie, I still get a little nervous sometimes when I'm painting something this darn nice. But man, that clear went on beautiful. I am happy with that. All right, we'll get her put back together in the morning and we'll bring you guys back to see how she all turned out. So there it is, guys, all finished up, ready for the customer. So I think that was a successful installation. So that light's crappy. So it works well, it looks really good, it kind of looks like it was meant to be. And as you can see, looking down the panel with the body work and the color, and everything turned out really well. You never know, I just cut a big hole in that box side. And then I think this turned out really cool too. So this is a little more than I envisioned. I kind of thought I'd be able to just put the toolbox there, cut the back out of the toolbox, and that would just cover the piping, but it was just a little more intrusive than I'd realized. But I think this worked out really slick. So rather than just kind of building a cover over it, now we've got what I think is just a really cool addition to a really cool truck. So, you know, now he's got an actual useful toolbox. I mean, he could put some tools in there, or like I said earlier, it says, you know, go to the car show. He could put his car show or his car cleaning supplies in there. It would be a good spot for them. Fill it full of ice and put beer in it. I don't care. I think it's pretty good. So let me know in the comments, guys, if you like this modification, if you think it is an improvement to the truck. Now, of course, it did have that nice clean look without the filler, but it just didn't work. So this was the next best thing we could do to make it way more functional and more enjoyable for the owner to be able to use this truck You know, like you said, just sitting at the gas station for 20 minutes trying to put fuel in just wasn't working. So let me know, guys. Leave a comment. If you haven't already, just hit like and subscribe. I certainly appreciate it when you do that. And I do hope to see you on the next one.